Have you ever realized you're wasting the best years of your life without even knowing it? Maybe you're still sitting in front of a screen, caught up in the race. But what is the ultimate finish line? It took me years of agony to understand that I wasn't happy, that I was suffering and not truly living, just merely existing. I was stuck in a dead-end job my heart never loved, lost amid meaningless numbers and deadlines. With no passion and no clear direction, I kept putting on a show to impress, striving for recognition and acceptance from others, just to feel worthy of existing. Yet that very race suffocated real joy and made me forget who I truly was. Many of us fool ourselves into thinking we're living, when in reality we're swept up in the meaningless whirl of expectations and routines. Stoic philosophy reminds us to return to what truly lies within our control: our thoughts, our actions, and our attitudes. When we focus on what we can change, every moment becomes precious, and life finally gains real meaning. Now, let's explore how Stoicism can guide you so you never waste another moment again. Number 1. Chasing the uncontrollable. When we become fixated on chasing fame and status, our sweat and hard work fade into blurry memories, while love and simple joys slip by without anyone noticing. Scott, a promising CEO, once believed that success was the true measure of his value. He began each day with high-pressure meetings and spent nearly a decade building an impressive resume, all the while ignoring messages from his wife and children waiting for his reply. Then one morning he woke up and realized how many warm family dinners he had missed, how many stories from his child's school day had passed him by, and how he'd forfeited the simplest acts of affection. Yet even then he kept running the same rat race, because he hadn't grasped that he was chasing things beyond his control. According to Stoic philosophy, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. These words of Marcus Aurelius are more than a personal reminder. They serve as a roadmap to a life of meaning. Once we recognize that only our thoughts and reactions lie within our power, a door to freedom swings wide open. Scott missed this insight. He believed that reports and profit margins defined his worth, when in fact he could have chosen how to face pressure, to nurture a peaceful mind, and to steer his emotions as he wished. Moreover, racing after status and material gain not only alienates us from ourselves, but also deepens a quiet loneliness. Who will share our burden when failure hits, if not ourselves? Scott once admitted that when he broke down, he'd reach for his phone to call his office desk because his family ties had run dry. That was when he realized, no matter how many billion-dollar contracts he held, an empty soul turns wealth into a gilded prison. Yet awakening doesn't happen overnight. Time accumulates into habits, and habits harden into instinct. If we keep pursuing external metrics, KPIs, hollow praise, flashy rewards, our minds lose sight of their true mission, cultivating inner worth. Scott finally saw this after a bout of depression left him lying alone in a hotel room, unsure where to turn. In that silence, he returned to the most fundamental question: am I living life or merely paying taxes for my company every day? So, if you feel lost amid friends' boastful posts on social media, if you're worn out by the pressure to parade your achievements, pause and ask yourself, am I chasing something within my control? Only by stepping back can you see the full picture. And only by understanding that your mind, attitude, and actions are the one thing no one can take away, can you reorder your priorities and move forward with confidence. Finally, let Stoic wisdom be your guide. When you let go of the illusion of external success, you will discover true power within. Our ancestors taught us that peace isn't found in distant places, but in the moments when our souls relax. Don't wait until one day you look back and see that you've wasted your life chasing what you can never hold, while genuine happiness stood right beside you, waiting for you to welcome it. Focus on your inner strength, and the pressure of the outside world will no longer be your shackle. True mastery begins with self-control, and self-control unlocks the real power inside every one of us. Number 2, comparing yourself to others. The lifestyle envy trend on Instagram is trapping millions of young people in a maze of glittering images, from lavish vacations to meticulously styled dinners. Sitting before the screen, you scroll through someone else's life with longing eyes, wondering why you haven't achieved that yourself. Then dissatisfaction seeps in. Why are they so successful so quickly? Why haven't I done anything remarkable yet? In an instant, you've handed over the right to judge your own happiness to external forces, likes and comments, instead of looking inward. When social media becomes the measure of your life, you unwittingly accept that your worth depends on what others possess. That gnawing sense of lacking doesn't arise by chance, but from the habit of comparison itself. Each time you gaze at someone else's accomplishments, you nail into your mind the thought, "I'm not good enough." It becomes a machine spinning out negative thoughts, from envy and discontent to, ultimately, depression or frantic, directionless scrambling to seize every opportunity. You forget that by comparing, you've drifted away from your true self and surrendered control of your happiness to an external world that is never as complete or authentic as the polished veneer online. Stoicism reminds us that happiness isn't out of reach if we turn back toward our inner life. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, Marcus Aurelius warned. Those words ring out as a wake-up call. The thoughts you nurture determine who you become. When you constantly compare yourself to others, you allow external standards to shape the quality of your mind, breeding unnecessary suffering. Instead of living by your own values, you chase goals set by someone else and taste only the bitterness of disappointment. Moreover, comparison stifles gratitude, the very remedy for discontent. You overlook simple yet precious blessings around you: a warm cup of coffee, a good book, or a carefree afternoon with friends. Obsessed with the idealized images online, you chase perfection without realizing that a positive life begins by cherishing what you already have. When your mind is freed from the frenzy of who's ahead, you discover true freedom. The freedom to live at your own pace and to grow according to your inner potential. So, how do you break the chains of comparison? First, the Stoic path begins with a daily journal. Note 3 things you're grateful for and 3 ways you did better today than yesterday. Next, whenever jealousy rises, pause and ask yourself, is this within my control? If not, let it go. Finally, focus on nurturing your core values: integrity, patience, and courage. When you live by these values, other people's achievements cease to measure your worth. The pain lurking beneath comparison isn't merely a fleeting sense of lack, but the gradual loss of your true self and life's purpose. If you don't awaken, you'll keep wasting days inflating the belief that happiness lies in goals drawn by someone else. Let Stoicism guide you. Only when you stop comparing do you truly begin to live as the master of your own thoughts, the creator of your own value, and the complete author of your own life. Number 3, ignoring the present, always thinking about the past or the future. We've all heard the wise advice that living in the present is a good idea. Yet it's all too easy to find ourselves spinning in endless mental debates or worrying about the future. Day after day, we let slip away the one moment we truly own. The past is gone, the future uncertain, and yet regret and anticipation keep us from making the most of now. Have you ever noticed yourself haunted by past mistakes? You replay memories 100 times, clutching regret, burying your energy right in the present moment. Painful recollections and unspoken words echo in your heart, shaping every decision you make. In your fear of judgment, you inadvertently steal the joy of this minute, squandering the potential that could light your future. At the same time, the future becomes a chasm of smoldering anxieties not yet formed. You sketch out 1,000 worst-case scenarios: failure, loss, remorse. Those visions weave a web in your mind, making every breath feel heavy. The glimmer of hope is dimmed by clouds of negativity. Rather than investing in the present, you gamble your future on uncertainties, trapping yourself in a whirlwind of unease with no escape. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." That reminder of our existence's fragility and this moment's value forces us to focus on now, instead of drowning in obstructive memories or uncertain predictions. This is the Stoic spirit, to act on what we can control. Yet many of us avoid the present because it can feel lonely and unsettling. When faced with a silent moment, we must confront the wounds within wounds we normally cover with illusions. Instead of touching our real emotions, we flee into the past's pleasant reveries or paint an idealized future, unwittingly imprisoning ourselves in a maze of imagination and missing the chance to heal here and now. Too many people only realize the present's worth at life's end, burdened with a lifetime of regrets. Time passes without waiting, and looking back, you see you entrusted your faith and joy to invisible moments. Time slips by in silence, leaving wounds from words left unsaid and dreams forgotten. That is the final alarm about the state of existing without living that Stoicism yearns to cure. When you reject the present, you fall into numbness, where each moment is blocked, hindering true growth and happiness. You wonder why joy eludes you, not recognizing that you yourself are the obstacle. The truth is, only by facing the present with all its joy and pain can you grow and discover genuine meaning. Now ask yourself, how much of today have you truly lived, rather than drifting in nostalgia or worry? Every time your mind leaves this moment, you lose a moment you can never reclaim. Share in the comments the moment you realized you'd let precious time slip away, and your plan to return to the present. Awakening can begin with the words you speak. Number 4, fear of failure, not daring to act. Have you ever felt your heart tighten at the very thought of failure? That feeling is like an invisible noose, strangling every ounce of courage and stretching hesitation into eternity. Yet it is precisely in the moment we falter that time, our most precious resource, waits for no one. Days slip by in a haze of regret. We dodge mistakes, convinced that one misstep will leave a wound too deep to heal, and before we know it, we've locked ourselves in a steel cage of safety, forfeiting every chance to chase our dreams. Do you realize you're wasting your life, held back by an unseen fear that keeps you from taking action? Stoicism teaches us to embrace every experience, even failure, as an essential part of our journey. This is the spirit of amor fati, the love of fate. When we accept that suffering, stumbles, and setbacks are woven into the grand design of the universe, fear gives way to courage. Look to the Creator. God did not bring us into being to shrink from risk. On the contrary, He gave each soul the freedom to choose, to err, and to rise stronger. Faith in God offers comfort and reveals our true mission. You were born to shine, not to timidly watch your dreams drift away. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This wise reminder tells us that every obstacle is not a barrier, but a winding path to growth. When you fall, let the wound teach you perseverance. When you fail, let failure teach you how to succeed. God has given you the power to transform adversity into strength, and it is through your faith and your actions that you will forge your own path. In modern history, no one exemplifies perseverance more than Colonel Harlan Sanders, the founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken. He knocked on restaurant doors nearly 1,000 times to sell his fried chicken recipe, only to be turned away each time. Every no cut into his pride, but instead of surrendering, he used rejection as fuel to refine his recipe and sharpen his resolve. Imagine if Sanders had stopped at 500 or 700 knocks. Would the world ever have savored that crispy chicken? The truth is, he lived every moment fully, even in failure, and became a living testament to Stoic teaching. Yet the deepest pain in each of us often lies elsewhere. We pray to God for courage, then doubt whether we deserve it. Every moment of hesitation is an opportunity wasted to live out the calling God has placed on our lives. Don't let the voice inside whisper, "If I fail, I'll be worthless." Instead, let your prayer become a vow of action. "Lord, light my way so I dare to step forward, whatever the outcome." To conquer fear, begin with small but steadfast steps. Each morning, ask yourself, "Today, will I dare to do what scares me?" Remind yourself that failure is a period, not an ending. Every stumble you turn into a lesson lays a firm foundation for your future. Believe that when you say amen to courageous action, you are fulfilling God's will in your life. Now that we understand fear of failure is the enemy stealing our brightest days, prepare yourself to face another silent adversary. In the next section, we will explore how daily procrastination sows seeds of quiet defeat and uncover the Stoic remedy to act now, before time once again slips away in silence. Number 5. Procrastination, the art of failure. Have you ever realized that every time the clock ticks, a fragment of life flashes before your eyes, yet you remain stuck in place, immersed in the whirlpool of procrastination? Procrastination is not merely forgetting a promise to yourself, it is the act of stealing priceless moments you can never reclaim. When opportunity opens its door, hesitation settles like a thin mist that blurs your vision, and the breath of your dream falls away like yellow leaves before winter. It is heartbreaking to awaken one day and find yourself a stranger at your own life's party, allowing the silent art of failure the soundless waste to crush your spirit without your even noticing. Moreover, Luke's story will leave you unable to look away. In his youth, he carried a burning desire to become a writer, nurturing a novel that would change the world. Yet each morning he hesitated, telling himself, "I'll wait until the sky brightens," or "I'll start next week when I have more free time." As a result, each chapter lay unfinished, lost beneath work emails and endless meetings. His belief in himself faltered, he lost direction, and he convinced himself that waiting a bit longer would be better. In the end, he realized that time waits for no one, and his dream receded into nothingness. Seneca famously warned, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Those words ring out like an alarm bell, striking at our instinct to avoid action. Instead of yearning for perfect conditions, we spend our lives collecting sand through our fingers. Seneca not only condemned the waste of time, but also showed us that every moment lost in hesitation is like a knife slicing away opportunity. As these words echo in your mind, do you feel the bitter truth tearing at your heart? Do you dare admit how many beginnings you have sacrificed simply for fear of starting? However, after years of wrestling with himself, Luke finally confronted the truth. One sunset afternoon, he opened the document containing his first chapter, his hands trembling as he pressed the keys and began to write. It was as if he awoke to realize that each word, each simple sentence, mattered more than 1,000 meaningless waits. He understood that the smallest actions taken immediately are the lifeline that rescues a dream. His first novel came into being not through some grand miracle, but because he defeated the enemy within his mind, fear and procrastination. Therefore, do not wait. Act the moment opportunity knocks, even if it is just the first step. Instead of asking, "Am I good enough to begin?" ask yourself, "What can I do right now?" By focusing on what you can control, your thoughts, decisions, and actions, each day becomes a brick in the foundation of your future. Do not let the fear of making mistakes hold you back. Failure is not your enemy, but the most patient teacher, guiding you to learn, adjust, and move forward stronger. Finally, if you still find yourself whispering, "I'll do it later," pause and confront the hidden pain of regret, the ache of wishing you had acted when you could. Be bold and declare, "Today I begin," even if it is with the smallest action, even if it is just the first page you write. Only when you cross the boundary of procrastination does your dream cease to be a distant shimmer beyond reach, and your life, instead of lingering in the darkness of regret, will blaze with the moments you dared to act. Number 6. Lack of clear goals, drifting. Have you ever felt like a leaf drifting aimlessly, with no clue which shore you're headed for? Perhaps we've all stood at life's crossroads in confusion, chasing a job defined only by deadlines, sidelining our enduring passions, and only in hindsight realizing how many precious moments we've squandered. Stoicism warns us that lacking a clear goal is tantamount to volunteering to let life decide for us. Without an overarching plan, you can easily get swept away by the currents of circumstance. People wake up each morning and rush into work on autopilot, only to spend their evenings scrolling through their phones and drowning in anxiety about tomorrow without ever understanding what their true destination is. Seneca reminded us that time is the one thing we cannot restore, but if you don't identify what matters most, you'll spend your life playing a role in someone else's script. Failure itself isn't the scariest thing. It's the moment you wake up and realize you no longer remember what you once longed for. First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Epictetus's words ring like an alarm bell, inviting each of us to face ourselves before diving into the chaos outside. It means first defining the person you want to become, then setting out concrete actions to build that vision step by step. Only when your inner foundation is solid can external storms be held at bay, and you can truly follow the path meant for you. Stoicism doesn't ask you to sketch out a faultless paradise. It urges you to plant your feet on the ground you've chosen, no matter how treacherous the road may be. Look at Chris Gardner's journey, and you'll see what it means to drift without a goal. Once a door-to-door blood pressure monitor salesman, Gardner wandered the city, sometimes sleeping in train stations and sheltering his young son in a public restroom stall to escape the rain. Without clear direction, he set aside his long-held dreams and simply swam in the unstable currents of survival. But that very struggle stirred him. If he carried on like that, what future awaited him? Determined to become a stockbroker, Gardner aimed to win a place in the unpaid internship program at Dean Witter Reynolds, the only starting point he could control. Every morning he studied, survived on instant noodles, polished the office floors, and squeezed in moments holding his son before class began. That persistence and vision ultimately helped him beat hundreds of applicants and write the story immortalized in The Pursuit of Happiness. Only by defining his path did Gardner reignite his spark of hope and transform his life. And you? Have you ever sat before a blank page and asked yourself, who do I want to become? What will I do with the time I have left? Or are you still swept along by the aimless flow, hoping that one day you'll wake up and accidentally stumble upon an exit? In truth, avoidance can be worse than failure. Even when you fall, you're still moving. But when you merely drift, you go nowhere, and every moment of uncertainty is a tiny period added to your life's unfinished novel. To break free, Stoicism offers a simple yet powerful method. Identify your core values, set specific goals, and dedicate every day to constructive action. Don't let confusion and invisible fears block your path. Courageously raise your inner torch, illuminate your purpose, and commit to each solid step forward. Only then will you feel the true meaning of every stride and never waste another precious second. So don't let silent days slip by in meaningless silence. Let each page you write in your life tell your own story. Number 7. Ignoring self-reflection. Day after day, we rush through the whirlwind of life, seldom pausing to look back at ourselves. Amid pressing deadlines and the pressure to achieve something, many of us unintentionally forget the most fundamental question: have I done well today? Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor-philosopher, reminded himself each morning to ask, have I behaved in accordance with the values I believe in? Rather than letting time slip by aimlessly, he used self-reflection as a mirror to see through his motives and actions, ensuring that no single day passed without learning something valuable and true about himself. It is regrettable that in the hustle of modern life, we often shy away from facing ourselves. We fear admitting we are not good enough, dread taking responsibility for our mistakes, and even fear confronting the gap between our ideals and reality. That fear freezes us in place, causing us to repeat meaningless routines until we finally realize that precious time has passed leaving behind an indelible trail of regret. However, without self-questioning, we remain lost in unconscious choices, living according to habits and social prejudices while forgetting our true selves. If you never dare ask yourself whether you have been kind to yourself and to others today, you will never discover the real value of each moment. Only by taking the time to review your thoughts and actions can you summon the courage to recognize weaknesses and correct them and uncover hidden strengths to nurture. In the darkness of avoidance, you can find 1,000 reasons to delay self-reflection. I'll sit down tomorrow. I'll have time over the weekend. Or I have too much to handle right now. In the end, those tomorrows never come. Day by day, you trade the opportunity to know yourself better for chasing goals others have set, only to one day look back in shock and realize you've wasted a lifetime on what wasn't truly yours. That is the hidden pain, the pain of a life lived for others' expectations and fears, until you no longer know what you genuinely desire. Conversely, once you cultivate the habit of self-questioning, everything changes. Even just a few minutes each night to jot down 1 or 2 lines of feeling becomes the map guiding your tomorrow. You learn to ask the right questions. Why do I feel sad? What brings me joy? Have I treated others fairly? As a result, intrinsic values such as honesty, courage, and goodwill cease to be abstract concepts and become daily principles put into practice. Through self-reflection, we come to realize that failure is not a mark of weakness, but a stepping stone for growth. Whenever Marcus Aurelius put pen to paper, he did not chastise himself for yesterday's mistakes. He captured the precious lesson so that he could move forward more confidently today. And when you set aside an inflated ego to acknowledge your shortcomings, you touch the essence of true freedom, the freedom to let go of arrogance and the freedom to uphold genuine values. Moreover, self-reflection sustains our motivation and passion. When you know that what you do matters, even the smallest actions take on significance. You work not only toward external goals, but also for an inner purpose that ignites your soul. This inner resolve will shield you against challenges and setbacks because you understand yourself and know what you're striving for. Finally, if we do not devote time to reflection, everything will collapse into despair. You will forever wonder why you feel exhausted, why satisfaction eludes you, and why the belief in a fulfilled life keeps slipping through your fingers. Don't let that pave the way for late regrets. Give yourself the chance to look back each day, so that every moment of life becomes a mirror reflecting your inner values, so that when you gaze into it, you see yourself truly living, not merely existing. And when you have mastered this art of self-reflection, prepare for the ultimate frontier, the limits of life. For only by bravely embracing change can you truly break through the boundaries you've set and grant yourself a life worthy of your deepest, most secret dreams. Number 8. Fear of change, the limit of life. Memento mori. Remember that we will die, that life is far shorter than we often imagine. Yet there exists an invisible, deep-seated fear that constantly haunts many of us, the fear of change. It is this fear that makes us dig our own graves, turning each day into something bland, tasteless, and full of regret. For when we dare not step away from our comfort zone, we unknowingly bind ourselves in invisible shackles, and day by day we watch our sparks of hope fade, our once bright dreams grow dim, like a candle struggling against the wind of time. When fear takes over our reason, we invent all sorts of excuses to cling to the present, even when that present feels suffocating. Instead of embracing risk to seek new horizons, we settle for work that no longer ignites our passion, stubbornly holding on to daily routines. This stagnation turns every day into a meaningless repetition, hardening and withering our hearts. Some even deceive themselves with, "I'm fine, I don't need change." But deep inside, despair swells, gnawing away at the youth and ambitions yearning to be rekindled. Look around. Many don't find the courage to leave a long-held job until after 30, only then daring to pursue true meaning. They accept starting from zero, embracing pressure, uncertainty, and even the judgmental glances of others. In contrast, some spend their lives clinging to a soulless, stable job, waking each morning with a pang of nostalgia for the path they once dreamed of. Only when they realize time has irrevocably passed do they cry out in shock, "Have I truly wasted my life?" That is not merely a belated self-questioning, but the desperate scream of a heart yearning to live fully. Thus, reminding ourselves that life is short is not a poetic notion, but a waking call felt in every heartbeat. If we continue to evade our fears, to confine ourselves within self-made boundaries, we will never witness the true potential hidden inside us. Change is not the enemy. Inertia and hesitation are the greatest foes, draining our vitality and killing our dreams before they ever bloom. Therefore, let Stoicism be the torch that lights our way. Recognize fear, converse with it, then summon the courage to move forward. Even when the road ahead is rocky, it is this deliberate boldness that carries us to new skies where the spirit can stretch its wings. Memento mori is not meant to make us falter, but to awaken our latent power, so no moment ever passes in vain. Finally, if you are reading these words, do not wait until the last minute to regret. Give yourself permission to change, to err, and to learn. For only when we break free from our comfort zones do we truly live. Do not let fear define the limits of your life. Instead, let it become the lever that lifts you higher, explores more, and lives every moment to the fullest. Remember, only by daring to change will you avoid squandering life's most precious years. We have just explored together 8 common ways you unintentionally waste your life. Each issue was examined through the Stoic lens, where you learn to focus on what you can truly control, to govern your mind, and to act as soon as opportunity arises. When you master your inner world, meaningless worries give way to serenity, and every moment you live becomes richer and more significant. Now, let Stoicism serve as your guiding star on the path of transformation. Each evening, take a few minutes to reflect. Did I live according to my values today? Keep a Stoic journal to break down your goals and immediately record the actions within your control. Commit to making small changes every day. Stop comparing yourself to others, stay present in the moment, and nurture your inner strength. With consistent effort, these tiny steps will lead you toward a full and joyful life. Don't wait until you look back to realize how much time you've squandered. Live each moment to the fullest, starting today. If you found this video helpful, please leave a comment to share your thoughts, click like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss the next Stoic lesson. Begin right now. Life waits for no one.